Good afternoon, dear journalists. We have just finished our conversation with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. We are very grateful for Ursula's support. This is very important for us. Of course, the number one priority is energy. As we said before, we will organize such a format, probably a video conference, with leaders who support Ukraine's energy sector, led by President Ursula. Our partners will be with me. This will happen in about a week. We'll see. We are working to secure that amount for gas imports and other needs. There is a matter we really need. In fact, today we understand that we are short about 750 million out of the 2 billion we talked about for gas. President Ursula just said that we'll be given around 127 million euros more in support. We are grateful for this. Next, there was our Minister of Energy at the G7 Energy Ministers meeting. And they support us everywhere. Canada and Italy and Germany and other countries will support. Everyone understands that this is a challenge. Everyone understands that Russia is taking terrorist steps, but everyone supports Ukraine. They are surprised at how we are restoring, and we are restoring. Taking this opportunity, I want to thank all our repair teams, all our power engineers. Well done. At such speed. Communities. Everyone is great. That's important. Next, very briefly. Where there are questions about Europe, and all the topics that we will now go over, please ask questions and our relevant people, I think, will comment on everything. Next, we had a meeting of the Supreme Commander-in-Chief Staff. At the staff meeting, of course, we discussed the battlefield situation. In Kupiansk, up to 60 Russian troops remain. A sweep is underway. We'll sweep the area. The dates are determined. They were discussed at the staff meeting. We will not share such information yet. The Liman sector is unchanged. We see the stabilization. Kramatorsk is unchanged. Kostiantynivka, there are battles. The situation has not changed so far. And Dobropilya is not easy. Our operation is underway, it continues. The commander reported that in the past few days we've swept 2.5 to 3 kilometers. We understand that Russia has completely lost the initiative there, and we understand that they are preparing revenge. It is clear that they are accumulating troops. By interceptions, by all signs, we understand. In Pokrovsk, the enemy has not had any success in recent days. 26 to 30% of all hostilities at the front take place in Pokrovsk. Moreover, 50% of all precision-guided bombs are aimed at Pokrovsk. So you understand how difficult it is for us. In Pokrovsk, we told you, a couple of hundred people. Our people estimate that there are between 260 and 300 Russians. Our 425th Assault Regiment is active inside Pokrovsk. Today, they are carrying the main burden. They are in such quite complex combat operations. And I also want to thank our 35th and 38th Brigades. They also perform important tasks in this direction. The 68th Separate Jaeger Brigade, along with the 32nd and 155th Brigades. These are our forces that are fighting directly on this, as you already understood in terms of percentages, the hottest direction. There are no changes at Novopavlivka. Regarding 6 settlements. You remember that, where the fighting is going on. Of our armed forces against the occupiers. Next, we were probably considering various contracts for our military for the future. For the near future. We are working on it. We are still working with the Prime Minister, with the Ministry of Finance. We still need to improve. We must understand. There are good signals about an increase in wages for the military. But it is necessary that there be a fundamental argument in this. Where does this money come from? Everyone will work on it. This is a very important signal to our partners as well. This matrix of future contracts is being prepared. We must share them in the informational sense of the word with our partners. Because we need money, not only to support the military, but for equipment, for our domestic production. Probably these are the main things that we wanted to share. If I haven't forgotten anything.
Colleagues, you can ask questions not only to the President, but also to the participants of the meeting.
By the way, a very good signal. I forgot about the main thing. Important for us. A very good signal from President Ursula von der Leyen. A report on our achievements on the path to the European Union. The report is annual. We have it the best in all 3 years. These are signals of progress in different sectors. There will certainly be a detailed report, but most importantly, it is the best in 3 years. I would like to thank our diplomatic team here. And this enlargement text report itself. It will be in the near future.
Tomorrow already.
Officially. Okay, please.
Ukraine planned to produce 3,000 cruise missiles in 2025. Have we reached this goal, and what is the implementation of the production of cruise missiles in Ukraine now? Thanks.
Thank you. First of all, we are doing very well in the production of our missiles. We are already using new missiles, such as Flamingo and Ruta. I won't tell you how many. We expect, as I said, mass production by the end of this year. There are our Neptunes. Also, I will not say the amount that we applied. We used Neptune, different ones. We already have the Neptune missile in production. We distinguish the standard Neptune from the extended range version. And it also shows itself very well. In the past month, we've focused on providing detailed information about our missiles, including drone missiles like Palyunitsia, Pokrovsk, Ruta, and Flamingo. What are missiles from this, and what are drone missiles from this? We will not say in detail, but I think that absolutely everyone in Ukraine, and thank God that in Russia as well, already sees. The results of the last month or two have been massive responses to Russian attacks on their energy sector, which earns money for this war against us. For example, recently there were a lot of questions about where our interceptors were. This is also a question about this. That's why I said, will produce up to 1,000 interceptors per day in the fall. And they will be produced. Certainly not an easy story. We believe that by the end of November, 600 to 800 interceptor drones will be produced per day. If all goes according to plan, though, as we know, strikes sometimes occur, and not only against the energy infrastructure. You should also know this. We generally avoid communicating details about attacks on our various weapons production facilities. We don't talk about it, but you should know that sometimes happens. They are transferred, restored. It is important that all our factories, despite what happened somewhere, are being restored and have been restored. So we have not lost any type of long-range weapons to date. Sometimes mass production slows down due to the fact that they have lost the workshop. It's true, it happens. We hit Russian targets, their defense industry, and they hit back. That's the nature of war. Did you want to add?
The success of our defense sector is evident in what's happening on the Russian side. In October, Russia had the lowest export of petroleum products since the beginning of the Great War. This is the result of the work of our defense sector and our armed forces.
By the way, you just mentioned exports. I was reminded just now, Alexander and Rustam returned from a business trip. So, we are opening 2 export capitals. You know, this is co-production and export, which we discussed, of the weapons we can afford to sell in order to generate additional funds for our domestic production of scarce items that we don't have enough money for. The first 2 capitals, this is decided at the level of companies that will be in co-production, as well as at the state level. The first 2 capitals, our representative office will be there. These are Berlin and Copenhagen. It will be this year. We are talking now, no one will wait. The question is not about repairs. The question is that all this will be legally opened and contracts will be worked out. Europe is handled by Alexander Kamyshin. He will represent Ukraine's exports on the European continent. As for Rustam, he was in the Middle East, as well as the issues of Asia and America, are also currently being worked out. The United States team on the drone production agreement will be in Ukraine next week.
Other questions? Channel 24, please.
In particular, we saw last week how a 12-point peace plan appeared, which was allegedly drawn up by Ukraine and Europe. There are many questions, in particular from Ukrainians, because there is also a language issue. There is also Russia's return to the negotiating table. Also Russia's return to international formats and the lifting of sanctions. So we have many questions, but we understand that most likely, this plan is drawn up as much as possible so that Putin likes it. And if he does not accept it, then it will mean that peace is not in his plans. Has this peace plan been seen in the United States? What do they say? Is this really a peace plan proposed by Ukraine and Europe?
Thank you for your question. You yourself decided that there was such a plan and drew your own conclusions. It is important. Did I see this plan as the president of Ukraine? No. It seems to me that this is the answer to many of the questions you mentioned. There are different European thinking and proposals for a peaceful settlement. Regarding your point about Russia being at the negotiating table, frankly, I'm surprised because so far, no one has been able to bring the Russians to the table, neither the US president nor any European leader. So I'm just surprised even by this signal regarding. This is exactly what everyone wants, to make Russians start talking. So, it sounds strange that there are Russians at the negotiating table. The second topic, related to European ideas, can take many forms and there are numerous possibilities. And there are consultations. Our position is as follows. Now there are consultations among advisors, there are several different conversations. At this point, no clear plan has been finalized. Of course, the issues you mentioned, language and so on, I don't know where they come from, but we remember that all this happened. Remember that since the beginning of the war. The signals and developments in Turkey, among other things, were also initiatives originating from their side, not ours. We have a rough idea of where this might originate, but I would consider the plan seriously only once it is finalized. Next, of course, we will share with the Europeans, they will share their vision, we will show our vision. Our visions, by the way, are not new. We understand what kind of war this is, and we understand what we are ready to do, and we understand what the first steps should be to move on to diplomacy as a whole, because there is none yet. We can see it. And after that, after our developments, they will still not be ready without the position of the United States. Because so far, without the strength of the United States, both in supporting us with weapons and in the political sense of the word, it is simply impossible to come to diplomacy yet. Therefore, there will be European developments together with us, of course, and we will discuss them with the United States. The Americans also have their own vision of this. The main thing is what vision we have, because the war is in Ukraine.
Ukrinform, then Politico.
Tetiana Pasova, Ukrinform. Recently, I received troubling news that Belgium had blocked Ukraine's access to a reparations loan from the frozen assets. Could you please tell us if there's still a chance that a concrete decision will be made at the EU summit, and that we will finally receive these funds?
Thank you for your question. Ukraine needs money for support, especially if the war doesn't end. Especially during this winter period. You see the consequences of the war. Energy and missiles for air defense systems and weapons and our internal enemies. All these are very large funds. If the war does not end this year, although I believe that everyone should do everything possible to stop it, and the sanction steps of America's and Europe's partner states show precisely the pressure on the Russians to stop and start negotiations. And if this does not happen, Ukraine must be sure that it is not going through such a difficult period alone, and that we have, first of all, finances, not only friendly words. And therefore, Europe, realizing that Ukraine is an outpost in this war, it will support us. I am absolutely sure of this. Each country will face its own type of challenge, political for some, social for others, and financial for others. At present, the only logical option is to use funds from frozen assets or secure financing against them. This is a tool to get this money and give Ukraine the opportunity to survive, fight, live, and, I remind everyone, pay salaries and provide pensions. We sometimes consider new challenges, but we have to keep in mind that 200-300 billion, nearly 300 billion, has effectively been consumed by this war, all of which was brought into Ukraine. So, how stable could the situation be? Naturally, stability is limited during wartime, with everything that implies. But there was a stable economy of the state. All payments, all guarantees were available. These are important things. Europe knows that if there is no such stability, what will happen within the state? So far, I believe that we have been able to provide all this. Of course, we did this with the support of our partners. And now, as for frozen assets, this is the fastest and most guaranteed option for providing Ukraine with 140 to 160 billion. And here a decision is needed from the majority of European Union countries. Belgium, there are 160 billion. We need to understand, I am sure that Belgium itself is not against it, because this is a matter for everyone and the responsibility of everyone. But certainly with most of that money, almost all in this country, there are certainly some questions from this country. Of course, they also think about what the payouts might be, they are looking for a tool. We hope that everyone will find this tool. If these aren't reparations loans, they'll need to come up with another mechanism. This is the best tool. We really believe that there will be a solution. And we really want that after a positive political decision at the last meeting, there will be a positive real decision by the end of this year. We will fight for it.
I wanted to ask. Do you think our forces have been able to thwart the Russian plan, especially following the main intelligence directorate special operation we observed? How has the operation affected the situation on the ground? And who do you think should be held accountable for the discrepancies between the official communications and what is actually happening regarding Russian breakthroughs, which we sometimes learn about from journalists, as Sersky himself noted? Who should be held responsible? And how did the special operation of the main intelligence directorate change the situation?
I don't know about the special operation, to be honest. There was a landing. We have special forces that the General Staff and the armed forces use in any operation. Of course, we should not talk much about this. GUR operatives are courageous individuals who support the armed forces. There were 21 GUR operatives there, up to 30. So you understand, when we're talking about thousands of our armed forces, it's very important to treat them with respect. These are the units responsible for such operations: GUR personnel, Special Operations Forces Unit, Alpha, Special Operations Forces, the National Police and the National Guard. All these guys, they are all well done. But we must understand that today, the air assault forces, Marines, assault units, and the mechanized brigades I mentioned serve as the primary defense against the Russians in the Pokrovsk sector. And the fact that special operations of various kinds are being carried out there refers to deploying our personnel to assist the armed forces. It's understandable, but it's happening everywhere, all along the front line. It's just that some things you see and some you don't see. There are brigades that have done so much, but we don't see them. That doesn't imply they are the only heroes, they are at least equally heroic. We are grateful to everyone. An entity such as the Russian army, particularly the 170,000 troops deployed in the Pokrovsk sector. Plus, they want extra strength. No special forces can win. This is simply impossible. Only the armed forces of Ukraine can do this with the support of all other defense forces of Ukraine. Orders are given, tasks are carried out, all defense forces interact. Therefore, I would like us to say that the Ukrainian soldier is defending Pokrovsk. A Ukrainian soldier defends our state, not someone individually. What else did you ask?
On communication. Recently, Sersky said that he was informed of some incorrect data.
There are different data. I assume that's what the Commander-in-Chief is referring to. I don't know if I understand correctly what he said, but it's clear that the Commander-in-Chief is now at the front and he's dealing with Pokrovsk. It is him. And it's clear that, like every leader, he can't be in different places at the same time. He gets updates in the morning and commanders provide reports in the evening. Sometimes commanders, as can happen, provide information that is likely incomplete. Here's what he means. Someone is withholding information. Like in a certain sector, a specific position was lost. First of all, there's no reason to fear this, we are fighting against a massive, powerful machine. There is no need to be afraid that you have lost some position. Did you keep the personnel? Well done, because there is a staff. You will then take the position. And if there are no personnel, you have lost personnel, that's a different matter. When full information isn't provided or reported, it results in gaps in public understanding between what is happening and what is actually occurring on the front. The person giving the information is the one accountable, as they are the on-site commander. This is usually the case. And the on-site commanders, with all due respect, and we should respect the officers, but things happen differently. You need to protect the soldiers, the troops, and an officer must have the judgment to safeguard their personnel. This is the most important thing. If the commander does not report, they change the commander. Who should be changed?
Can we ask one more question, Mr. President?
Yes,
Union, please.
please.
Good afternoon. You mentioned arms exports. Perhaps there is already. Is there already a list of weapons that Ukraine intends to export to European countries this year? Is this about drones or weaponry? What exactly is being referred to?
Weapons that will be exported?
Yes.
We understand which one. We just can't afford to export all weapons, to be honest. Some are very important to us. We are ready to work on marine drones. We actually have more than we deploy, used by our Navy, the Security Service, the Special Operations Forces, or the main Intelligence Directorate. They used naval drones, but in different ways. We have at least twice the number that we currently deploy. It's true. We also, in my opinion, have other weapons. There are artillery systems as well, though, to be honest, there aren't usually many, but our production is now ramping up significantly. This is required in the budget. The budget covers replacements for the 122, 152 with 155 mm calibers used by our Bodana system. How many Bodana units?
More than 40.
More than 40 systems per month. We also see great export potential in this. What else can we add?
First, only the nomenclature according to which our production capabilities are greater than the purchasing capabilities of our security and defense forces. Second, the nomenclature that is now critically needed by our partners, for which they are ready to share with us other deficits that are more powerful for us.
We have, for example, one of the systems that we negotiate. We already have such an example. We won't talk, but this is just a very good example. It seems to me that it is the fairest in relation to us from partners. There are some weapons that partners really like, and which we lack. And we are starting to produce it with partners. Partners finance everything 100%. They take half for themselves, they give half to us. But we agree that during the war they themselves say that this is our half and we will give you our half. There are such loyal relations simply because they believe in Ukraine, they are worried, and such good relations simply exist. But we certainly understand that this half is there. After the war, we'll figure it out.
The last question, please, Liga.
Mr. President, Liga.net, you said that there are good signals about raising salaries for military personnel. Will this apply to those who have signed a contract now? Or this will also apply to those who are already serving in defense of Ukraine? Many military personnel tell us that a sense of injustice is growing in the army due to the gap between combat pay, salaries for rear positions, combat pay for rear positions, and civilian salaries. And this is a question that worries many military.
First of all, we treat the military with great respect. And our total budget at the moment is, as far as I recall, 2.7. 2.8 trillion. Such expenses have never occurred, even during the war. That is, we try to give our best. We are doing everything to ensure that our army does not shrink in any way. We are doing everything we can to fully provide finances, especially to people involved in hostilities. As for contracts, this will apply to the contract army. We would very much like for the skills of many people gained during this war to be retained so that those heroic individuals who wish to remain in the army can move from mobilized status to a contractual service. Contracts are considered, by the way, for a year, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a different format of these contracts that will be introduced. We have written the desired financing that we see. We have dealt with the desired funding that the military sees. Today we have numbers that everyone considers fair. For contracts, I will not say them because first we need to have financial support for such payments. Just to, communicate. So let's do it first. The Ministry of Defense of Ukraine showed us different formats today, and first we will ensure all the details for this financing funds will be found. And then we'll say, I really hope we don't lose those people who, as I mentioned, after the war ends or when there's a ceasefire, at the moment when people return home, want to stay in the army and continue their service. And with this knowledge, I would like the state to be able to offer something so as not to lose them. Ultimately, it will be the choice of each service member to switch professions, return to their prior career, or remain in the army and share their invaluable combat experience with others.